a dog scratching. Hello and welcome back to another episode of wjlive, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Joey Chester, manager of publishing operations at the Western Journal, and I'm joined by reporter and my friend Grant. Grant, thank you for joining us. We have a fun episode, an interesting episode in store for you today. We're going to cover everything from Nancy Pelosi getting physical with a little girl. Sounds like something Joe Biden might do, but it's not the same way that Joe Biden does. We're also going to cover the latest Supreme Court decision from today, and then we will end with some riots that took place after the Roe v. Wade decision last week. Things got pretty crazy, especially right here in Arizona, in Phoenix, at the state's capital. So Grant, have you seen the Pelosi video yet?
I have seen it, but I haven't, sat down and analyzed it.
Sure.
I saw it in passing on social media.
So I want to play the video just so Grant and I can see it, and then we'll react to it. We'll discuss it. The viewers, you can let us know in the comments what you think about this. And let's play the video and see what happened during. I think this was the swearing in ceremony for Representative Mayra Flores, who just won a special election in Texas against a Democrat. So let's watch the video.
We wanted our pastor to come into the picture.
Pastor?
Yes.
Oh. I mean, come on. That's clearly a shove, is it not?
she looks at her. I don't think that you could say that that's any sort of accident or she didn't know that she was there or anything like that. She deliberately looks down at her. I won't say makes eye contact because I'm not sure if they were both looking at each other, but she clearly knows that she's right there, and she puts her elbow out. It's like, the Stanley Cup concluded last night. A lot of times we'll have this debate with hockey because, people are hitting each other in hockey. That's how it is. A lot of times, people's elbow will come out and somebody will get injured and they'll say, oh, I don't know if that person intended to do that. I don't know if they should get a fine or a suspension for doing that, or it was just an accident. That would be one of those cases where I think if it was a hockey play, there would probably be a fine. Because it was a deliberate attempt to extend the elbow into someone. I mean, it's no accident. There's no way that you could say it's an accident.
No, I don't know how you could. It looks very intentional to me. It's not even like Pelosi was doing it to another adult. I mean, this kid is what? I don't know, 10 years old or something. I mean, not very old. And Pelosi is elbowing her. I mean, look, you're that bothered by a little girl whose mom is being sworn into Congress. It doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Okay, she got close to you, but it's for a picture. You're supposed to get close to other people during a picture so you all fit in the picture. What could this little child possibly do to Nancy Pelosi to warrant being elbowed away? But my favorite part of it is the little girl's face stays exactly the same the whole time. She's totally unfazed, and I think, when it's done, I think she goes exactly back into the same position she was before Pelosi pushed her, which I just love. There, and then watch. I think she goes right back.
Oh yeah,
yeah. She's going right back to where she was.
Just a little blink, and then
Pelosi's always doing the weird.
Yeah, the way that she just moves her body, it's just not how a normal person moves. It's like some sort of robot or something. I don't why does she move her arms like that? Why does she not know how to stand up? I mean, why does she do a lot of the things that she does? It doesn't make sense a lot of times.
It's very strange. So Meyer Flores, who's the congresswoman, there she says, we can put the tweet up of what she said. She said, "I'm so proud of my strong, beautiful daughter for not allowing this to faze her. She continued to smile and pose for the picture like a queen. No child should be pushed to the side for a photo op, period." And that's totally true. I mean, it's wrong what Pelosi did, but just like the media does for everything, they always run cover for Democrats. I mean, could you imagine if like Mike Pence in a swearing-in ceremony like shoved a kid out of the way, or Trump did that, or even anyone like Kevin McCarthy, or like, if Marjorie Taylor Greene or someone shoved a kid? It would be like all over national news. You'd have people being removed from their committees. You would have hearings over it, and Pelosi just gets away with it. But Democrats seem to have a weird thing with kids. I mean, Joe Biden, about all the pictures and videos there are of Joe Biden sniffing little girls' hair and touching it.
Honestly,
I get this is different, but it's just weird. Like, why do they always treat kids weird? I don't know.
I feel like, well, first of all the Democrats and a lot of Republicans too, and there are younger Democrats, but a lot of Democrats are like, on their last leg. They're pretty
true.
darn old. And I feel like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are like the two perfect representations of how old people deal with children. There's like some old people who are like, "Oh, I really hate children. Like, get out of my way. I'm going to shove you." And then there's other old people who like children a little too much, and it's like a little creepy, and they're stiffing the kid's hair, whatever it is. I feel like they're very different, but it's also similar in that they both show how they just don't know how to interact with younger children, and I don't really think they know how to interact or relate to the American people as a whole. So it's really just children are only one part of it.
Yeah, and I think it demonstrates that so many on the left, they act like little children. Like, they have zero maturity whatsoever. Like, this little girl showed more maturity than Nancy Pelosi, who is the Speaker of the House. But this is how, Pelosi's demonstrated behavior like this before, childish behavior. She ripped up Trump's State of the Union speech, remember, behind him. That's like what a child does. And, in the wake of Supreme Court decisions, we have them screaming and shouting in the streets, acting like children. So I think it's just a thing on the left to not act very mature. This seems to be the type of behavior that they resort to, I guess.
I also think when you have an older person who's been, in Congress or in politics for a long time, especially with Nancy Pelosi, and I think you see it a little bit with Biden too, they really just think that they are super entitled and that, they're the most important person in the room at all times. So whatever else is happening is just kind of, they can do whatever they want. They can treat other people however they want because they're the important one, and they're the one everyone is there to see, and that's how they feel. So I think it's a little bit of a pride thing too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So many of the Democrats are extremely prideful. So speaking of Pelosi, Pelosi released a statement today, and she said, "The Supreme Court is an extremist body that punishes the American people." Wow, that sounds like a bit of an incitement to me. That's pretty strong words to use about the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land that so many important decisions come out of. Lately, we had the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which I think is the most important Supreme Court decision of my lifetime. Think of our lifetime. That's something that conservatives have been fighting for, Christians have been fighting for decades, and we finally got it. And of course, the Democrats, the left, promptly melted down. The Supreme Court's illegitimate, and abortion is banned everywhere. They don't even know what the ruling even means. But today, there was also a really important ruling for Christians. So a while back, a coach, this is just a crazy story. Coach Kennedy was fired, I think. He lost his job because he would pray in public after games. He worked at a school, and he was fired over it. And he took this all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor today, 6-3, saying that he was in the right. He's allowed to do this. I mean, that's like a game-changing win for Christians. It's sad that we even had to end up in that place, or like that this was even questioned. It's also alarming to me that this was a 6-3 decision and not a 9-0 decision. Mm-hmm. Like, there shouldn't be 3 Supreme Court justices that think you shouldn't be allowed to pray on a football field. Like that bothers me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what, their reasoning would be as to why they would vote that way. I'd be interested to read the dissent. I haven't, read anything on it yet. I'm wondering what their position is, because I'm sure they said that has something to do with, separation of church and state, but I really don't see how it does. You have a coach who's praying on the field. Mm-hmm. As far as I understand it, he's not forcing any of his players to pray on the field. He's just saying, I'm going to pray. Like, if you want to join me, you can. And I think even after they told him he wasn't allowed to pray anymore, some of the players were still praying by themselves. Correct. So it's not like there's this guy. If it was a case of he's saying, my team is all going to pray on the field and you have to do it, I actually could see where that would be kind of a problem, just with the separation of church and state and all that. But that's not what the case was. He was just praying in a public place on a field, and inviting anyone to join him who wanted to, and not having anyone join him who didn't want to. So I don't understand how that's any sort of problem, really.
Yeah, because he was. It's not like the school was endorsing it or saying like, oh yeah, our school is requiring all of these players to pray during the game. That's not, or after the game. That's not what happened. I mean, like, if you think about it, if you were a Christian, like a student, Christian, you're a Christian student in high school, who's to say that like you can't pray in school? It's just yourself. It's a decision that you're making. The school's not endorsing it, but it's personal beliefs that you hold. And you're also in a public place too. So I think it's wrong to say like what people can and can't believe in a public forum. I just think this is a really great First Amendment win. I mean, this coach was removed from his job all the way back in 2015. And he's been fighting this now for 7 years, and we finally got an answer. But yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the fact that it is controversial that like you shouldn't be, I don't know. It's just, I think it's really wrong that it's controversial that this guy was praying in public on his own terms after a game. I don't think that should be controversial in America. Like, think about it. If it was, I guarantee you, if it was some religion other than Christianity, then the left would probably be saying, other words. I just think they have a general hatred of Christianity and Christians who decide to express their beliefs in public.
What is your view? I'm just curious, because I feel like you and I might have slightly different views. I don't know. As far as church and state, like if this coach, let's say he had been, requiring his players to pray, or he's going to say, we're all going to pray as a team and everyone's going to join me. Do you think that would have been a problem?
Yeah, I mean, here's where like I think I probably have to separate my personal views from what the law says. Because I think like even if a coach was like, look, we're all going to pray before the game, like even if you don't believe it, I don't think there's any malice in that. Like because prayer is a good thing. Like even if you weren't a Christian, someone praying for you or praying with you is not a bad thing. Like even if you were Muslim and a Christian wanted to pray for you, that's not something that's bad. And so I totally get the argument would be, well, yeah, this guy can't force anyone to pray. And I totally get that. But I do think like him, if he wanted to say before the game, I want to pray for all my players. I totally get why he would want to do that. And like personally, I don't think that that's something wrong to want to pray for others, but I totally see what the law says and how that would probably be problematic.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. But I also think that, like we just said, he should be able to pray, and if people want to join him, they can. And if they don't, and I think a lot of people would argue against that, especially on the left. They would say things like, which we also saw with another Supreme Court decision this week. They'd be like, oh, well, if Christians get this and this and this, are we going to allow Muslims to do this and this? I would say personally, sure. If there's a Muslim coach and he would like to, I don't really know, honestly, if Muslims pray. I don't know.
Right.
How that
I
really
don't
works.
know either. Yeah.
But whatever they do before games, if he wanted to invite his players to do that, I wouldn't have an issue with that either.
No,
I might
right.
say, I'm not going to do it personally, or at least I don't believe that, the same religious beliefs that you are saying apply to me, but I don't think that I would have a problem or say that he should be fired.
No. Yeah, I mean, who should be fired for their religious beliefs? That's just not fair. That's not how the Supreme Court confirmed that. It's a really interesting situation. And yeah, I of course think there's probably some sort of line, like you were talking about, forcing people to do something versus people willingly joining you. I think that's the key difference. So the other major Supreme Court win, I mentioned it, was the fact that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And there's been a lot, I'm sure you've seen, Grant, a lot of disinformation out there about what this means. It did not ban abortion. I wish it did. Let's put that out there. I wish it banned it on a nationwide level, on a federal level, but that's not what this did. It returned it to the states, basically said, Roe v. Wade was a bad legal ruling, and that the power belongs to the states for this. But of course you have Democrats freaking out in the streets, claiming that abortion is banned nationwide and we have to burn the whole system down and the Supreme Court's illegitimate. And like I said, you have Nancy Pelosi calling the court extremist. You have, I think AOC said, take to the streets. And Maxine Waters said, hell to the Supreme Court. And I think the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, I think she said F. Clarence Thomas.
Yes,
today.
she did. I think that was today. Yeah.
Yes. So apparently that's fine. That's not, again, not incitement or anything like that. But yeah, it's just been a complete and utter meltdown from the left. They don't understand the law. They don't care about life. They don't care about morals or culture, the family, or anything like that. We've seen in big corporations say that they're going to pay to fly their employees from states that ban abortions to states where you can have them. And they'll cover up to $4,000 or $5,000 of that cost, which I think just proves that most major corporations absolutely hate you, and we give our money to corporations that hate us. It also shows that corporations are not, in fact, pro-family. They literally want you to murder a child so that they can keep using women for their labor.
That also opens them up to extreme fraud. What's to keep me from? I mean, I'm not a woman, but if I was a woman,
they wouldn't know that.
Yeah, that's true. I could be a woman. Maybe I'm a birthing.
You're a birthing person.
You don't know. Yes. If I say I'm going to go get an abortion,
yeah.
I get a hotel room, whatever, I could probably make a pretty convincing argument
yes.
that I just went and had an abortion when I actually didn't, and I just went on vacation and they just paid me $5,000. I mean, I don't see, you could get fake documents, you can get people to lie. It just seems like a really dumb idea. Obviously, it's immoral, but also just seems dumb.
Yeah, 100% true. So we have some footage. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, there was a strong reaction in Arizona. I think Arizona is one of the states where abortion is now banned or is going to be banned. So crazy leftists descended on the Arizona state capitol to protest. The Senate was in session during this time. They were trying to pass a school choice bill, and I believe thousands of protesters showed up at the Capitol and tried to stop the session, all over the fact that they can no longer murder babies in Arizona. So I just want to play some of these clips from what happened.
Please listen, we are going to recess. We're going into recess right now, okay? We have a security problem outside. Members, please go, stop. We're recessed. Members, please listen, we are going to recess.
Do we have the footage? I think they tried to break down the windows too, like the doors. Yeah, here. I think it's yeah. Grant, your thoughts on that?
Well, I just don't see. First of all, I should just say that that is horrible behavior. And for anyone who says, that because I'm saying that I'm a hypocrite because of January 6th, whatever, I think anyone who acted violently on January 6th also displayed horrible behavior. And I think I've said that in the past. But outside of the fact that that's horrible behavior, and I mean, we could sit here and talk about all day how inappropriate that is and how our society has gotten to a point where they think that that sort of action is appropriate. But I think the more important discussion to me right now is just the reaction to it. I do not understand how this is any different from the exact circumstances that the left called an insurrection and in fact has been forcing down our throats with primetime hearings for the last, I don't know, couple of months at this point.
Yep.
They were in the chamber voting, which is the exact same thing that happened in the Capitol. People tried to break in. Probably not everyone was there to hurt someone, but some people probably were there to hurt people. And do I think this qualifies as an insurrection? Probably not, any more than the January 6th did.
Sure.
I think there were probably people there who wanted to hurt others, and I think there were other people there who were just angry and were just, trying to make their voices heard or follow the crowd or whatever. I think it was an inappropriate situation that should never have happened. But the hypocrisy, I honestly can't get over it. The fact that I was reading a story about this, and I think it was NBC News. They put insurrection in quotes. They were like, "Oh, Republicans have called this an insurrection." And like I said, I don't know if I would define this as an insurrection, but I do know that NBC News has been calling January 6th an insurrection nonstop for the past year and a half. So how can you possibly use that language about January 6th and then put ironic quotes around it when you talk about this thing that happened on Friday night, which is exactly the same thing? You have to be consistent. I mean, this is why no one trusts you and no one wants to read NBC News or any of these outlets, because they're full of crap.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Grant. And I actually think there's a key difference here from January 6th that actually makes this type of behavior worse. When we look at what Trump said on January 6th, you can read his speech from before they entered the Capitol. He told the protesters to go there peacefully and make their voices be heard. He said "fight like hell," but in context, I think he was talking about Rudy Giuliani. He was talking like "fight like hell," like Rudy Giuliani, who is like an 82-year-old man. I don't think Giuliani's going through any windows in the Capitol. So, I think that's a key difference. There wasn't any elected official, Trump didn't, incite January 6th. But I do think that Democrats play a huge role in what happened at the Arizona Capitol, what happened nationwide after the protests. Like I said, as soon as the ruling came out, you saw all kinds of elected officials go down to the Supreme Court and say all kinds of insightful things, like from AOC to Maxine Waters to I think Elizabeth Warren said stuff. all that kind of behavior stirs people up and it makes them want to get out in the streets and go to capitals and do stuff like this. So I think Democrats actually have incited what happened versus I think January 6th was just a lot of people upset. I also think on January 6th, there's still questions on how they got into the Capitol and how the event actually happened. I don't think that there were potentially FBI informants in the crowd here at the Arizona Capitol. Could be, but I don't think that's probably the case. So I think there are some clear differences that actually make this worse. And this happened like nationwide. Riots like this, protests like this happen nationwide. I'm not saying that people don't have the right to protest, but you can't try to break into a state capitol building. You just can't. That's, there's a line there.
Yeah, and I think, you saw President Joe Biden come out and make a speech where he just spewed nothing for 13 minutes. And probably about 10 minutes into the speech is when he said, oh, by the way, probably be peaceful. That would be cool. But that was after he had just talked about how extreme and terrible the Supreme Court was for 10 minutes. And then he finally threw that in there at the end. And then you have other Democrats, like you said, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer. These people, both in the past and on Friday, I saw them make speeches that were inherently insightful, and most of them I didn't see any disclaimers. I never heard Maxine Waters say, oh, by the way, be peaceful. I think she conveniently left that part out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and when you have the Speaker of the House calling the Supreme Court extremist and saying they punish the American people, that's not going to help calm anyone. That's going to make these people protest even more. And you also have the Department of Defense, the Pentagon saying, oh yeah, we're gonna ignore the Supreme Court ruling and we're gonna ignore laws and we're gonna maintain access to abortion for U.S. troops. You're just basically straight up vowing to defy a Supreme Court ruling. And I think Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General, I think he released a statement. I think the DOJ released a statement too last week saying that they were going to defy the gun bill or the gun ruling that had come out too. So you have all these elected officials, all these institutions in government basically saying the Supreme Court is illegitimate. This ruling means nothing, and we're just going to defy it. How is that not incitement? How is that not an insurrection against the United States government? If that's not, then I don't know what is.
And these are the same people that said, saying there are questions about the 2020 election that we should research. Republicans weren't saying, you know what, we're just going to completely ignore the 2020 election and we're just going to keep our people in power that we want. Nobody said that. What we said was we want to have an investigation to see what happened. And even calling for an investigation in that scenario was incitement, according to the Democrats. Meanwhile, you have Democrats saying we are literally going to ignore the law and just put our own laws in place, which is a step further than Republicans ever said. And, that's totally fine. There's no issue with that. I mean, it's insane.
It's total tyranny. Yeah, and the election stuff too. They're such hypocrites with that because Democrats have actually protested election results. I mean, Hillary Clinton said for years, I think Hillary Clinton still thinks the 2016 election was stolen from her. I think Al Gore thinks the 2000 election was stolen from him through Florida. The Democrats they're the biggest hypocrites ever. I think they want ultimate tyranny in this country. They want ultimate power vested in the federal government. They don't think the court should matter. They don't think the court should be a check on federal power. It's just, I just think what's happening is really disturbing. And I also think too, I've never seen people fight this hard to be able to murder children. How much does that say about the modern left? They're fighting, they're trying to break into a Capitol, all because they want to have the right to kill their children. That should tell you everything you need to know about the modern left. These elected officials, they do not want what's best for the country. They do not want what's best for women. They do not want what's best for families. They want to push evil policies, and they want ultimate tyranny over the American people.
Honestly, I think what's even sadder too is there are people, and I've had debates about this with a lot of people because I have friends who are pro-abortion, and I've told them how I feel about that. I'm not a type of guy who usually hides my feelings.
Right?
They know where I
agree.
stand.
Yeah.
But I think even sadder than the people who want to murder babies, and I believe those people are out there. There are people who say you should shout your abortion, you should celebrate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And those people exist. So anyone who says those people don't exist, they're lying to you. Those people exist. But I think what's even sadder than that, to me, is the millions of women who have been manipulated into believing that having an abortion is a good thing. It's something that is a right that they should have, and that it's the compassionate thing to do, that they should do that because otherwise they're bringing a child into a bad world and they're putting them into a bad situation. I mean, the lies and the twisting that have happened. There are evil people who want to abort children. There are also evil people who want to twist women's minds into thinking that that is a good thing. And those people, I feel so sorry for them because I don't know how to get to them, because you can't go and say you're a murderer, you're murdering babies, because that doesn't get through to them. But it's just so hard, and it's disgusting what some people in our society have twisted this issue into.
Yeah, they've convinced women that they have to get abortions and that like it's totally acceptable. And yeah, you're right. These wouldn't necessarily be people like women who like want to do it, want to murder babies, but they've been convinced by the left that they have to be pro-choice. And I think it's interesting. I think the modern right, which I think consider myself definitely a part of, I think they're fighting for things like families and policies that support families. Like I totally see like we need to make adoption easier in America. We need to make it more affordable. I think it can cost like up to $50,000 to adopt a child in America. Look, most good parents who would provide good homes for children don't have $50K to drop on adoption. Things like family leave, maternity leave, that's important. I think that the modern right is really fighting for pro-family policies that will really help out in the aftermath of Roe v. Wade being overturned. I think that's really exciting. So I think the right has a chance to reach some of these women that have been taken advantage of by the left, because that's totally what's happened. It's really sick that the left has done this. And I think we can bring them to our side with these really pro-family policies that support women who that need help. Because look, it's not just the child that we need to fight for when a woman has an unplanned pregnancy. It's also a mother in crisis, a woman in crisis, and we totally need to take care of both mother and child. And I think the right just really needs to get that across to so many people. I think that the right is like really getting back to being pro-family, and that excites me. So I'll just end with that. Grant, anything you want to add?
I mean, I think that's totally true. I think the vast majority of people on the right do feel that way. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect in the way that we try to present that. It comes across sometimes as being cruel to the mother, not caring about the mother. And I don't think that's where anybody here comes from.
No,
I don't think
not
that's
at all.
Where the vast majority of conservatives come from. I think, the messaging and the being clear about the fact that we care about the mother, we want to help the mother, and investing, doing actions that, go towards that end, I think are very important. And like you said, we have an opportunity to do that, right now, which I think is great.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate it. What we do here, we think is important. We really like bringing you news like Nancy Pelosi pushing children, the latest Supreme Court decisions, and ideas on what the future of America looks like in a post-Roe world. We live in a really exciting time. It's also a hard time with how destructive the left wants to be, and they want to destroy every institution that they can in America. If you feel led to support what we do here further, you can head to westernjournal.com/join. There you will see a variety of ways that you can support the Western Journal further. What we do here isn't cheap, but we think that it's really important. We're a small, family-owned company. So thank you so much for watching. We will be back here on Wednesday.